Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Welcome to The News on WTOC Plus. We continue to follow a developing story today. A deadly crash on Whitfield Avenue and Truman Parkway in Savannah this morning claimed the life of a beloved teacher at Hess K-8 school. In the last 30 minutes or so, we have learned new details as, according to the Chatham County Police Department, Monday morning's fatal crash was the result of a chase between Homeland Security investigators and a suspect. CCPD said in a press release that department officers responded to the crash around 7:45 a.m., which happened right outside one of its precincts. CCPD is investigating the crash, which killed Hess K-8 teacher Linda Davis. Preliminary information shows Homeland Security investigators were conducting an operation in the area of Truman Parkway and attempted to pull a man identified as Oscar Vasquez Lopez over. Lopez didn't pull over, and HSI agents began chasing him. Lopez then crashed into Davis, ultimately killing her. Lopez has been arrested by CCPD officers and charged with first-degree vehicular homicide. CCPD says the department was unaware that HSI was conducting any operations in the area and that no CCPD officers were part of this chase. Again, teacher Linda Davis was killed in that crash this morning. The school district said that they will have counselors at the school this week to support its students and staff members. Happening overnight, the Savannah Fire Department is investigating after 4 people were displaced by a late-night fire. The fire happened on Brick Hill Circle around 12:05 a.m. this morning, just after midnight. Firefighters went into a fast attack after seeing smoke and flames. The fire was able to be put under control in less than 30 minutes, and the cause of this fire remains under investigation. Turning now to state news. Today is the first day in the trial of Colin Gray. He's the father of the accused Appalachia High School shooter, Colt Gray. Now, this could turn out to be a landmark case, setting a precedent for similar trials moving forward. Today, Colin Gray was visibly emotional in the courtroom throughout opening statements, and the central question of this trial is abundantly clear. Could Colin Gray have prevented the tragedy and terror his son Colt Gray allegedly caused at Appalachia High School? After lengthy instructions to the jurors by the judge, the prosecution first laid out its case. Using a map of the school, District Attorney Tim Darnold maps out the day minute by minute that Colt Gray is accused of shooting and killing 2 teachers, 2 students, and injuring 9 more. The prosecution detailed a chaotic home life for Colt Gray, being moved around, switching schools, and often missing school altogether. The prosecution says Colt was angry and violent. They say Colt spoke of hearing voices telling him what to do, and that his parents thought he might need to be institutionalized. Still, the prosecution argues Colin Gray bought his son an AR-15 rifle for Christmas and allowed Colt to leave it propped up in his room, despite what the prosecution calls clear warning signs. The prosecution says the day of the shooting, Colin Gray's behavior was telling.
He goes home, and he runs straight to Colt's room. He has to confirm what he already knows. He goes straight to Colt's room to see if that gun is missing, and it is. Moments later, Anthony Townsend and Brandon Bazinet arrive at his house, and he utters those words, "I knew it."
You cannot hold someone criminally responsible for failing to predict. Colt had notes hidden on his cell phone that appear to be the planning stages of this shooting. Those notes were not known to Colin Gray. Colt accelerated his plan. And there's evidence suggesting that that acceleration was tied to the fact that Colin Gray was actively seeking mental health treatment for his son through the school at that time.
Colin Gray has pled not guilty on all 29 charges. The ruling on this case could set a historic precedent. It's the first time in Georgia that a parent has been charged for providing a weapon in a school shooting. This is something we will continue to cover right here on WTOC+. Well, right now, TSA agents at Hartfield-Jackson International Airport are going without paychecks after Congress failed to fund the Department of Homeland Security, triggering the second shutdown in 3 months. Don Shipman has more from the Atlanta International Airport. Take a look.
Congress went home for recess, but TSA agents at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport can't. They're working right now without pay.
I'm not really mad about it. People aren't getting paid. So we expect that there's going to be some lays. It's just a little frustrating when you make plans.
TSA falls under the Department of Homeland Security, and right now funding is on hold for DHS because Democrats in Washington are pushing for reforms to ICE, which DHS also oversees. Democrats are calling for an end to roving ICE patrols. They also want more coordination with local agencies and ICE agents to take off their masks. The demand for change comes after federal immigration agents fatally shot 2 U.S. citizens last month.
We have a rogue agency. Why don't we rein them in?
Border Patrol and ICE both have use of force guidelines. They both have operational instructions on, use the minimum of force necessary.
While Congress debates ICE, the 1,200 TSA workers at Hartsfield-Jackson are still required to go to work, but are doing so without a paycheck. TSA says security won't be compromised, but morale is another story, especially since this is the second shutdown in just 3 months.
It's terrible, and I don't know. It's very frustrating, I think, for everybody.
You have to give them grace. I mean, they're doing the best that they can with what they got, right?
And workers here at the Savannah Hilton Head International Airport are being impacted as well. Local businesses did lend a helping hand to TSA employees during the historic 43-day shutdown back in October. That was including Bella Napoli, who prepared hot meals for workers. TSA workers were ultimately given a $10,000 bonus for their work after that shutdown. It's unclear if something similar will happen this time around. Other agencies impacted include FEMA, Border Patrol, and the Secret Service. Well, under the Gold Dome, the Georgia Senate is taking action against large-scale ICE facilities across the state. Lawmakers have announced legislation that would prohibit the use of state resources to support ICE warehouse detention centers. The Department of Homeland Security recently purchased a warehouse in Social Circle, Georgia, that could fit up to 10,000 detainees and has proposed another project in Oakwood. That's on top of the 4 centers already in the Peach State. Democrat Jaha Howard authored the bill. He says Georgia's taxpayers should not foot the bill for the detention centers without clear public consent and accountability. However, some Republicans say they support these facilities.
Decisions of this magnitude should not be imposed from the top down. Local residents, local officials, and state leaders must have a voice before irreversible commitments are made that can fundamentally alter the character and the stability of a community.
We do not want to overwhelm a small community like you're just pointing out, but at the same time, we have a duty to respond to the needs of our citizens in our state to make sure that they're safe in their communities and their neighborhoods, and especially in their bedrooms at night.
Howard says they believe there will be unusual collaboration among Democrats, Republicans, and independents pushing back against the detention centers. Turning now to national news, investigators searching for Nancy Guthrie are now reviewing surveillance video from Walmarts in the Tucson, Arizona area, believing the suspect's backpack, mask, and clothes were all purchased there. Last night, Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie posted another emotional video. Jonathan Viglotti is in Tucson with the latest.
As the search for Nancy Guthrie enters a third week, Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie had this message late Sunday for her mother's abductor.
It is never too late to do the right thing.
Investigators are now focusing on items they believe the suspect was wearing the night Guthrie was taken on February 1st, including this face mask they believe was purchased at Walmart and this black Ozark trail hiker backpack sold exclusively at the retail giant. Former FBI Special Agent Jason Pack.
But this ultimately could boil down to something as simple as who bought this backpack.
Absolutely. We've been able to track these things back if they've used a credit card or cash.
Meanwhile, the FBI announced Sunday it's entering DNA recovered from a pair of gloves into its database.
What happens next now with these DNA results?
If they're able to match the DNA from inside that residence with the glove they found on the outside, then that's where you got the home run.
As the search goes on, so do a community's prayers. Residents are leaving behind personal messages calling for Guthrie's safe return.
The whole world just wants to know where she is and help find her, because I think that's how much people love the family, the Guthrie family, all over.
And the sheriff tells me that Walmart has handed over purchase records specifically pertaining to that backpack, including names going back several months. We have reached out to Walmart. So far, we have not heard back. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Tucson, Arizona.
Back here in the Peach State, Georgia's state income tax is one step closer to getting the axe. The bill is now heading to the General Assembly after clearing a Senate vote last week. The legislation would more than quadruple the standard deduction you can claim. The result? In the first year, about 2/3 of Georgians would be paying no income tax at all. Supporters say people would save an average of about $5,000. Critics say the state uses the income tax to fund critical services.
It's real money in real people's pockets, not token money that we've told them will help them later. Senate Bill 476 is tailored to address the affordability crisis for the middle class.
This scam bill creates a massive hole in our state budget. It's going to be a hole so deep that it will swallow the services that families, everyday families, rely on.
Right now, 9 states don't have a state income tax, including our neighbors to the north and south, Tennessee and Florida. Meanwhile, some customers are urging the state's Public Service Commission to pause Georgia Power's plan to expand its energy capacity. Georgia Power requested the expansion to deal with the growing number of data centers in the state. This was approved back in December before newly elected commission members start their roles. Customers are worried about their bills and possible rate increases.
I want to speak to you not as regulators, but I want to speak to you as parents and grandparents. You love your children, you love your grandchildren. The decisions you make in this room will shape the energy system they inherit, its costs, its resilience, its environmental consequences.
Environmental groups also filed a petition to halt the plan because of concerns about a lack of transparency. The commission will discuss this again next week. Well, lagging Georgia drivers could soon be asked to pick up the pace. Some Georgia lawmakers want to increase the minimum speed limit on major highways from 40 miles per hour to 50. This would only be for highways where the maximum speed is 65 or faster. The bill's sponsor says the gap between the slowest drivers and the fastest drivers is causing deadly rear-end collisions. But critics argue the change could be too hard on seniors and student drivers. Right now, the bill is still in committee. All right, in other headlines across Georgia, casinos aren't legal in the Peach State quite yet, but we've learned a casino company is already planning to bring one to Macon. Gaming and Leisure Properties reached an agreement with Macon-Bibb County to buy the former JCPenney building at the Macon Mall for $20 million. They plan to revitalize that space, and if or when casino gambling is legalized in the Peach State, they would open one on that land. We're hearing from the Macon-Bibb County mayor about this move.
For Macon-Bibb County, our investment is we want to give the citizens an opportunity to make that decision for themselves if it becomes legal, and we want to give them a place for it to happen. So getting a JCPenney's and selling a JCPenney's for $20 million is very attractive for Macon-Bibb County.
To legalize casinos, lawmakers would have to pass a constitutional amendment, which would then be decided by voters. All right, well, it's President's Day, and if you're off and looking for something to do, there's still some time to check out some of Georgia's most treasured sites. National parks and historic parks are free today. A heads up that while admission is free, you still may have to pay for your parking. All right, turning now to sports news. A week into spring training, and the injuries are already starting to pile up for the Braves. Manager Walt Weiss said yesterday that pitcher Hudson Waldrop may require surgery to remove what he called loose bodies in his arm. The team should learn today how long Waldrop will miss after he meets with specialists. He joins fellow righty Spencer Schwellenbach on the sideline. He's out with bone spurs. I also wanted to take a moment to remind you that for the next month and a half, WTOC is your place to watch the Braves get ready for the upcoming season. We're airing 15 spring training games. The first is this Sunday. First pitch is set for 1 p.m. All right, this is a pretty cool story. A South Georgia teenager is getting the chance of a lifetime spearheading cancer research. Cy Thotum is a junior at Leesburg High School. He's also leading a national billboard project. His focus is on providing access to health care in rural areas and has led to working with elite medical schools, including Harvard, Emory, and Ohio State. So far, he's raised more than $300,000, helping more than 200 people receive lung cancer screenings.
Open my eyes to, like, especially in rural settings where people or, patients somehow have to travel distances, possibly 1 to 3 hours to Atlanta or like in Macon, major cities, to get the access care they need. So that kind of started, that was kind of my motivation to hey, instead of getting into it in college, why can I not start right now? What's stopping me,
On top of his research, Cy has also helped create an innovative lung cancer screening tool called Resonair. It secured a U.S. patent and is now linked to a $1.5 million clinical trial. And finally, here on WTOC Plus, Tybee Island firefighters rescued a cat that had been stuck in a palm tree for more than 8 hours Wednesday afternoon. Tybee Island Fire Rescue said around 4:45 p.m. a truck went to the area of 14th Street for a report of a cat that had been stuck in a palm tree since 8 o'clock that morning. Upon arrival, crews positioned the truck and raised their ladder for a high-angle feline rescue. The fire district says as crews made their first attempts, the cat demonstrated some impressive agility by jumping to the other side of the tree several different times. They say after some aerial repositioning, they were able to secure the cat and successfully bring it down, bringing it safely to the ground with no injuries. The department says just a little bruised firefighter ego or two. The cat is safe, crews are back in service, and the palm tree has officially been placed off limits for future climbing operations. Tybee Fire says it's all in a day's work. It's funny, I feel like that's like the stereotypical or the common firefighter cause you hear, cat stuck in a tree. Maybe palm tree is pretty unique to Tybee, but I don't think I've ever covered an actual cat tree rescue. So props to Tybee Fire for getting that cat down. All right. With that, we're going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We'd like to thank you all for joining us this morning. We'll be back in just about 10 minutes for the First Alert Weather Show with Dave Turley coming up at the bottom of the hour at 1:30. Spoiler alert, we're looking pretty good this week, especially compared to last week. I was driving around, went to Lake Meyer, and just absolutely flooded late last afternoon. So, we're in the clear. Should be a sunny week here in the Coastal Empire. Well, thanks for watching. You can always check our website, WTOC.com, for the latest. And we'll now kick it over to Local News Live.